Hello, this video is page 2 of lesson 1 in Math 110, where I'll complete the examples or exercises for the lesson. So in number 1, we're asked to convert 3/4, the fraction, to a decimal. Remember from class today, to do that, we're going to divide the top by the bottom. So 3 divided by 4. If you enter that in your calculator, will give you 0.75. And this is a common fraction decimal that students sometimes know by heart. So 3/4 is 0.75. Number 2, to convert 0.6 to a fraction, remember we write it as it is read. And so the 6 is in the tenths place. So we would read this 6/10. So we would write it as 6/10. We would then need to reduce it by dividing the top and the bottom by 2, which would give us 3/5. Number 3, 1 3/5, we want to convert to a percent. Remember, when you're converting to a percent, you multiply by 100. So I'm going to do this the long way just so you can see what all goes on behind the scenes. So I'm going to write 1 3/5 as an improper fraction. So remember, you do 1 times 5, which is 5, and then you add 3 to that, which gives you 8. And you write it over the original denominator. And then we're going to multiply this times 100. So we can, I notice that I can cross simplify. So 5 will go into itself 1 time, and 5 will go into 100 20 times. So now if I multiply, 8 times 20 is 160. 1 times 1 is 1. And so that gives us 160%. Now, I didn't have time to talk about this in class, but you always want to ask yourself, does that answer make sense? Remember that 100% of something is one whole. So if we have a fraction that is 1 3/5, you would expect your percentage to be over 100%. So that makes sense to me. All right, moving on to number 4. In number 4, we want to change a percent to a decimal. Remember that when you're changing a percent to a decimal, you're going to, you're going to divide by 100. So 1 1/4 as a mixed number, well, 1 times 4 is 4, plus your 1 is 5. So that gives me 5/4 divided by 100. Because remember, the percent signs are going to cancel. So now if I do keep it, change it, flip it, I keep 5/4. I change division to multiplication, and then I'm going to flip the fraction, the second number, which gives me 1/100. Again, I can cross simplify. So 5 will go into itself 1 time. It will go into 100 20 times. And so that's going to give me 1/80. And now if I divide this in the calculator, 1 divided by 80 is going to give me 0.0125. All right, number 5 is changing 5 2/3% to a fraction. So again, since I'm going from a percent, I'm going to divide by 100. So the percent signs cancel. So 5 2/3 would give me 17/3 divided by 100/1, which is 17/3 times 1/100. This time I cannot cancel. 3 and 1 do not have a common factor other than 1. 17 and 100 do not have a common factor other than 1. So I'm just going to go ahead and multiply. 17 times 1 is 7. 3 times 100 is 300. So that would give me 17 over 300. All right, moving on to example 6. I have 81.2%, and I'm going to change that to a fraction. So again, I'm going to divide by 100. So that gives me 81.2 over 100. Now, if you just enter this in the calculator, it will give you the final answer, but I'm going to show you how the calculator gets that. So, to be able to move this decimal to the right one place, you'd have to multiply the top and the bottom by 10. So that's going to give me 812 over 1,000. And the reason I have to multiply both the top and the bottom is because when you multiply a fraction by the same number on the top and the bottom, like this, you're really just multiplying by 1. So it won't change the value of the fraction. But if I move the decimal to the right in the top and I don't do anything to the bottom, I'm no longer talking about the same value of 81.2%. So this gives me 812 over 1,000. So now if I change, I need to reduce this. They're both even, so I know they're divisible by 2, but they're actually divisible by 4. So I'm going to divide the top and the bottom by 4, and that will give me 203 over 250. And that is your final answer. Now, if we look at number 5 and 6, number 5 and 2/3, that's a really small percentage. And 17 over 300 is a really small part of 300. As opposed to number 6, 81.2 is a large percentage of something, and 203 is a large part of 250. So these answers make sense to me. All right, lots of mixed numbers. So now we're going to change 12.5% to a fraction. So again, we're dividing by 100. So 12.5% would be, 12 times 2 is 24, plus 1 is 25. So that's 25 over 2 divided by 100 over 1, which is 25 over 2 times 1 over 100 using keep it, change it, flip it. Well, I do see now that I can cross simplify. 25 will go into itself 1 time, and it will go into 100 4 times. So now 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 4 is 8. And that gives me my final answer. There are several things we can do for number 8. I think the thing that students are most often going to do, though, is in your calculator, you would do 7 divided by 8, and that's going to give you 0.875. Then, if we want to change that to a decimal, remember we move the decimal 2 places to the right, which will give us 87.5%. Moving on to number 9, 1.38% to a decimal. Remember, this time we're going to be dividing by 100, which is going to move our decimal to the left. And number 8, I didn't show it, but technically you're really multiplying by 100, which moves your decimal to the right. So 1.38, if I move that decimal 2 places to the left, it's going to give me 0.0138. Again, that's a very small decimal, and 1% is a very small percentage. All right, finally, we're going to change a mixed fraction to a decimal. Remember that the whole number part is what goes in front of the decimal. And to get what goes behind the decimal, we're just going to do in our calculator 3 divided by 8? And 3 divided by 8 is 0.375. So that's the part that goes after the decimal. So your final answer is 10.375. That wraps up Lesson 1. Remember, you have 2 assignments to complete for Lesson 1 to help practice these concepts. One is the Lesson 1 in My Open Math, or MOM, and 2 is the worksheet in your handbook, and I do have that in this notebook. And remember, you're only doing the B's only, on page 5 and 6.